In this lesson, we're going to look at the basic math operators available in JavaScript. So I have two variables, x and y. X is 10, y is 3. If I wanted to add these together, that's pretty straightforward. We already talked about it in the last video with the adding and concatenating. So that would simply be x plus y. And I save that, refresh it, and there we go. X plus y, 10 plus 3 is 13. Subtraction, pretty straightforward as well. Just using the dash or the minus sign and refresh. Now I have 10 minus 3 is 7. Next is multiplication. Now, depending on how much you've worked with computers, you may or may not know which symbol is the multiplication symbol. We can't just use x. We're already using x as a variable, so that's going to be a problem. So what I use for multiplication is the asterisk, and that is above the 9 key on your number pad or the 8 key on the regular numbers. So this is multiplication. Refresh, and there we go. 3 times 10 is 30. Division is the /. So that is the question mark key down by your shift key if you're using the regular keys, or it is the key above the 8 key on your number pad, or at least on a regular keyboard. So x divided by y, so 10 divided by 3 should give me 3.3333 repeating. You may notice some weird stuff here where that became 3.333335. It's like, well, we know that's not the case. It should be repeating threes forever. This just has to do with it runs out of space to store the variable and it has to round it off, and this will be yet another lesson later on as to why it's doing that. But the decimals are only precise up to a certain number of decimal places. So that's division. Now for a couple that you may not be as familiar with, unless you've done a lot of coding programming previously. This one, oops, double asterisk. So we already know that the asterisk is multiplication, but what does it mean when I have two of them? Well, if I refresh this, I get 1,000. So how would I get 1,000 out of a 10 and a 3? Some of you may have figured it already, but basically what's happening here is I have 10 times 10 times 10, 10 to the third power. So this is exponents. 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000. So that's what's happening. This is how we do exponents. So we say, like if I wanted 2 to the 5th power, I would make x2, make y5, and now I would be doing 2 to the 5th power. And there we go, 32. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 32. Then the other one that you're probably not familiar with is modulus. And let me just go ahead and make a comment down here. So double asterisk is exponents. And then I'll make another comment, and this is going to be the percent sign, and it is modulus. But even telling you that it's modulus, you may still have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. You may have never heard of modulus before. So let me go ahead and put that in here and see if we have any idea what that's doing. So it uses the percent sign, but I will say has nothing to do with percents. So I have x modulus y, 10 modulus 3. What are we going to get? 1. Where on earth does 1 come from with a 10 and a 3 in here? Well, let's just go ahead and put that as a comment so we can remember it. So we know that 10 modulus 3 equals 1. Let's try 10 modulus 4 and see what that equals. So I'm going to change y to 4. That gives us a 2. Let's try 10 modulus 5. Have any of you guessed yet what this is doing? Change that to a 5. Refresh. I get 0. Well, if you give up, I'll give you a big hint first. It has to do with division. If you look at 10 and 5, and I'm dividing, what would that 0 be? Well, that 0 is our remainder. 10 divided by 5 goes in evenly 2 times, giving us a remainder of 2. If I go back to the 4, refresh, well, 10 divided by 4, 4 goes into 10 evenly twice, but then gives me a remainder of 2. Their first example, 10 divided by 3, well, 3 times 3 is 9, leaving me with a remainder of 1. So modulus returns remainders. Oops, not remains, remainders. There we go. So where on earth would this be useful in coding? Well, if you've ever surfed the web and seen some of those nice big fancy tables that have alternating row colors, to code that, there is ways now with CSS where we don't have to do it, but it used to be we had to use like JavaScript or some other language to determine which rows were evens and which ones were odds to alternate the colors. And there's other cases other than just tables, but there are many times where we need to know, is a number even or odd, or what is the remainder? So how do I know if a number is even or odd? Well, I divide it by 2. So change that to 2. I do 10 modulus 2. My remainder is going to be what? Well, it's going to be 0, telling me it's an even. But if I change this to a 9 and do 9 modulus 2, well, I get a remainder of 1. So anytime there's a remainder of 1, we know it's odd. Anytime it's a remainder of 0, we know it's even. So that's why we need to work with remainders. So the various times, other than just evens and odds, but that's one of the most common things, is seeing if something is even or odd. But there are other times too, like when I'm displaying, like say I'm Amazon, and I do a search for a certain book and it returns 32 different books, but I only display 20 results per page. Well, I need to see, okay, I need one page with 20, but then I have a remainder of 12. So on the next page, I need to list out 12 more. So there are a lot of examples of where modulus gets used in coding, and that is, once again, just simply the % sign. So those are some of our basic math operators in JavaScript.